Aloha, and thank you for watching this brief presentation on a research project that I've been working on called Human-Centered Information Integration for the Smart Grid. The fundamental question that I'm addressing in this research is what kinds of information, provided in what ways and at what times, enables consumers to make positive, sustained changes to their energy consumption behaviors. This is an important question. It's important because energy is an increasingly expensive and limited resource. It's linked to climate change. The smart grid is receiving a lot of attention and is going to provide many new opportunities for consumer-facing energy information. And finally, there's tremendous opportunities to improve the efficiency with which we use energy in the United States. Let me now give you a brief whirlwind tour of some of the things that are being done in this area. The first is Google Power Meter. The idea here is that if you have a home energy meter, you can send that data to Google and it will allow you to display the results on your home page. I happen to have such a meter called the TED 5000, and you can see here the data from the usage, the consumption of energy in my house for the month of November. There's also a great interest in university dormitory energy competitions where you meter a dormitory and you have students engage in a competition where they attempt to reduce their energy usage through conservation measures. Oberlin is a leader in this particular approach, but there are many universities that are now instituting dorm energy competitions. While both home energy meters and dorm energy competitions are looking at energy from what I call the micro level, or individual buildings or individual households, there are also sites that provide energy information at the macro level, which is essentially the entire grid. This current energy site provides grid level information, for example, for the entire state of California. There's also a site called Ecotricity, which provides grid level information for the United Kingdom, and it also attempts to make that information actionable. It does this by measuring the carbon intensity of the grid and then presenting a kind of a stoplight which tells you whether or not you should attempt to defer energy usage based upon the carbon intensity of the grid. If it's high, you want to wait. If it's low, you can go ahead and use energy. Now, unfortunately, it turns out that simply presenting energy information is not generally sufficient to create sustained positive change in behavior. There's other things you need to do as well. Some of the most useful things from the perspective of energy consumption is providing personalized, actionable information about your energy usage, engaging the user in making commitments to make changes, both general and specific. Social pressure can be useful. That doesn't need to be heavy-handed. It could be as simple as someone you respect publicizing the fact that they're making changes, and you might emulate their behavior based upon that. Finally, providing feedback in terms of what the outcome of your behavioral change actually has done in terms of your energy usage can be very important to actually sustaining change. In my looking at the research and practice, I've identified a number of issues that I want to address in this research. The first is that infrastructure for consumer-facing energy information systems currently appears to be quite underdeveloped. There isn't anything equivalent, for example, to Drupal for energy information system developed, some kind of out-of-the-box infrastructure that simplifies lots of the mundane issues that you need to take care of. Secondly, I've shown you previously that there's both micro and macro levels to energy information, but those micro and macro levels don't appear to be integrated together in an information system that enables you to simultaneously, for example, think about your local household usage and the status of the grid at that point of time and make decisions based upon that. So what we're going to do in this research project is develop two kinds of things. The first is a general infrastructure released in an open source way for consumer-facing energy data collection, storage, analysis, and distribution. And we hope that will be a contribution and of use to the community. The second is a custom social network environment to support behavioral change, where we're going to incorporate some of our theories about how different scales of involvement can actually facilitate behavioral change. Let's start by taking a look at WattBlocks, our infrastructure, and you can see that it consists of a number of components. There'll be services that gather data from various sources, a set of middleware components that support storage and analysis, and then at the top level we'll have either custom components for presenting user interfaces to this data, or we can use conventional systems like Facebook or Twitter and so forth. Here's a mock-up of our eSpheres system, and the idea here is it's a social network where you are a member of various communities that are of gradually increasing scale. So here's Marcia, who's logged into a site that supports a dorm energy competition, and she happens to be a resident of the 4th floor of a particular residence hall. When she's in this particular portion of the social network, she sees information tailored to that small community. But she can click outward to find information tailored to these gradually larger and larger communities that she's also a member of. To evaluate these techniques, we want to have a series of dorm energy competitions, both at the University of Hawaii and hopefully at other universities as well as residential energy challenges in 2011, 2012, and 2013. Our experimental design is to start off by collecting baseline data. So we want to see where people begin with respect to their energy usage, their energy knowledge, and their attitudes. Then we'll introduce these environments either in a dormitory or residential setting, see if they, and then after they've used these environments for a period of about a month, we'll do an assessment of the impact. Did their energy usage change? Have their attitudes changed? Are they more knowledgeable? Are they more engaged? Finally, we also want to get feedback on the system in order to improve it for future releases. There are many indicators that we can use to see if we're being successful. Of course, we can look at changes in our populations to see if we're getting the desired, sustained positive changes. We also can assess it by seeing if there are other communities who find our infrastructure of use to them and adopt it for their own purposes. If you'd like to help us in this research, we'd love to have your participation. One way you can help is by simply downloading the full proposal at the URL that was specified in the beginning of this talk, and take a look through it and provide us with any feedback that you can. If you're so inclined, we could also use a letter of support indicating that you've read this research proposal and you think it's an appropriate way to go about helping us move forward with respect to energy and behavior. Finally, if you'd like to volunteer, either as a developer of the framework or as a beta tester or user once the system's been implemented, please let us know that as well. We'd love to have you. Thanks very much.